First part of Mahābhārata, but I do have a video of it. So for those who missed that lecture, first part, I can forward the video to you. But today I'm gonna go into second half and I will be connecting the dots. I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish it fully today, but I will do my best. One of my gurus shared one time that Mahābhārata was actually translated to different languages in 3 different ways. And for that, I want to explain something. For those who've been on the lectures before, know that we as a human beings have 3 different distinctions that we're born to. The first one, for those who remember, are Brahmins. Brahmins are the ones who are born to be teachers, to teach and bring education. These are priests, these are teachers, these are again people who are responsible for bringing the education to all society. It's a head of our society. Then we have Kshatris. Kshatris are warriors. They are generals, they are managers, these are CEOs, these are the leaders of our society, and they're the arms of our society. They're here to bring justice to the society. And then we have also Vaishyi. Vaishyi is the business people who are responsible for the economy of the society. And these are examples of Disney, Walt Disney, Donald Trump, who are successful businessmen. But by the way, when the person is born Vaishyi and responsible for economy, they're not supposed to jump and become Kshatri or Brahman. Because usually people born into one distinction, they might have the shadows of others, but they have a main one. And so these people are good in buying and selling, Vaishyis, and constantly creating economy and money out of nothing. I have a girlfriend who gets, so she has a funeral home, and she can connect a hospital with another funeral home because her funeral home cannot handle so many people, and she makes a bonus, $20,000, just connecting 2 people. These are Vaishyi, so you get the idea, right? They can make money out of nothing, just connecting 2 people maybe, right? 2 business. And then there are Shudras. Shudras are people who are born to make a difference with others. These could be coaches, these are psychologists, these are athletes, by the way, these are singers, carpenters, doctors, lawyers. They're helping others. People are singing, others are enjoying, they're helping their soul. Eileen is doing Reiki, she's helping other people, she feels her soul. But at the same time, Eileen is also an educator, so you can see which one is more predominant, educator or a healer, because we have a shadow of maybe all of them, but the predominant one, we have to connect and be responsible. Are we Brahman, Kshatri, Vaishya, or Shudra? So my guru said that Mahābhārata was translated later for 3 different groups. Because when Brahman would listen to Mahābhārata, and Mahābhārata, the book, was about battle between relatives, between one cousins and other cousins. And Krishna helped 5 sons, 5 brothers who were on the side of Dharma. Dharma is spiritual way. When you live believing in God, following God, and what is your purpose. And so he is explaining that Mahābhārata was translated into 3 different ways in order for Brahmins, Kshatri, and Vaishya to understand. For example, Vaishya would be listening, is like, oh yeah, I'm reading Mahābhārata in order to understand it, in order to make even more money. Kshatri would be reading a book and thinking, yeah, I gotta bring justice, and heard this person fire them, heard this person fire them, and punish this person, so they're out of the company. So they're listening from the filter of who they are, and Brahman would be listening. What's the purpose of killing someone? What's the purpose of hurting someone? The goal is to meditate in order to rise your consciousness. Now, when Buddha came in 2,500 years ago, Vedas and yogis did not like him because he was a revolutionary person who said, "You're a murderer, you're a killer, still come to me and I'm gonna shift your consciousness." Because he understood that if you change a person's consciousness, because we are what we think, they will stop killing. And so that's why yogis could not understand what is he doing, because he was changing the dogma, how we think as a human beings. And the principle of yogis that we are, Buddha believed that with right education, with meditation, we can be, evolutionized? We can grow spiritually and our mind will stop controlling us. We can control our mind. And so most people who were following Buddha was Brahmins and murderers and killers and thieves, basically bad people. And then yogis actually said, yeah, we recognize you, but it took them a long time. And Buddha was actually the first person who was meditating under the tree. After 30 days, he connected to higher power and got all the answers. And that's what yogi also believe, that we gotta read and know the literature. But even if we know only 1%, but we practice 99%, 99% meaning doing the meditation, doing asanas, yoga, if we connect to higher consciousness, we can get all the answers. That's why I'm bringing the monks, yogi monks, to our meetings, and I will be doing that now probably every month, because those yogi monks who've been doing askeza, and these yogi monks been doing meditation for some 20, some 30, some 40 years, and they've met higher consciousness not once, many, many times, and they have all the answers, friends. We have to read in order to get those answers, right? But they already experienced it to the higher consciousness. So, by the way, next meeting gonna be in 2 weeks on Saturday, 29th, with Dada Krishna Bundiananda. This Dada not only can see the past and the future, you can, in the presence of him, you can feel the presence of God. He's truly incredible, so I highly recommend for you to be in the meeting with him. All Dadas have this specialty, something about them. Some are very wise, some are shining like love themselves, and this Dada can really see the future and the past and has really godly energy, so he's incredible. But going back to this Brahmins, Kshatri, Vaishya, and Shudra, I would like for you to start to connecting what is your distinction, what you're born into. Going back to Mahabharata and continue our story with Mahabharata, we stayed last time in where Gandhari and Dhritarashtra was the king who was blind. He married Gandhari, and Gandhari was a very beautiful woman, princess. All of the wise men were saying she's gonna give birth to 100 kids. But everybody was thinking, how is it possible to give 100 kids, right? The birth to 100 kids. So to make a story short, when she got married, she got pregnant. To give a little bit more detail, because Dhritarashtra was blind, she decided to blind herself as well. She thought, even though that was the biggest fear of hers, she was afraid to sleep without candles. She had thousands of candles in her bedroom, and her servants were staying, make sure that all the candles are lit up, because she was afraid of the dark. And all of a sudden, when she realized that she is engaged to Dhritarashtra, who is a blind king, supposed to be king, not yet. As they got engaged, she is in his castle. She decided to blind her eyes. And as she is walking through Dhritarashtra, everybody is in shock. Why is she blinding herself? And then she explains, my husband that I'm gonna marry now is a blind man. How can I understand him if I am seeing? In order to connect to him on a deeper level, I am blinding my eyes so I can connect with him on a soul level. Dhritarashtra was very angry man. When he didn't get things the way he wanted it, he would get really frustrated and angry and start screaming. He could not hold his feelings. And that's, by the way, the biggest sins, the biggest karma of a king, when he cannot hold his feelings. And he's like, why do I need a wife who cannot see? I am blind. I wanted to marry you so you can show me what is our servants doing. How do they feel about me? Because kings in the past were servants over servants. They were there in order to serve them. But he was all about him, and he wanted to have a crown. He wanted to become a king. He's like, why do I need you if you are now blind? But then Bhishma, who was the son of Ganga, goddess Ganga, told her, no, I have to get the point of Gandhari, why she's doing it. She's doing to serve you, to connect to you on a deeper level. Down the road, it's going to be helpful that she blinded her eyes. But in the moment, he's very, very angry with her. So she got pregnant, and now she's carrying a babies, for 2 years. And every day, Dhritarashtra, blind man, is asking her, when will you give birth? When will you give birth? What's wrong with you? It's not been 9 months. It's not been 10 months. It's been 2 years. What's wrong with her? So now they start pushing the labor. The labor started to happening. And what came out of her is a piece of meat. Yeah, big piece of meat. And they start chopping it into pieces. And then they start, the wise, and then Dhritarashtra said, what you gave me? The birth of a piece of meat? You were supposed to give me 100 sons, and you gave me the piece of meat. And then wise men came and said, no, of course, we didn't think about how can a woman give birth to 100 kids. It's not going to be 9 months, 9 months, 9 months. This is going to be your kids. Like, what do you mean? And he started to put each chopped pieces of the meat into a container. And they hang those containers. And they said, now your baby's gonna grow. So it was very bizarre and very strange. And so those babies in those containers started to grow. And of course, the first one who came out was the loudest one. And when they heard the sound of this loud boy, a wise man said, we need to kill him because he will be almost like a demon. He is gonna be cruel, he gonna be mean, and he gonna almost end this world. He gonna be the beginning of a big war. We gotta kill him. But of course, Dhritarashtra, his father, and Gandhari said, no, how can you kill a child? No, this is not possible. And of course, they did not allow the death of the son. And so those 100 children are starting to grow, and finally, they all became like kids. And Dhritarashtra, blind king, was really happy that he has now 100 kids. On the other hand, we have, not in this kingdom, in a different kingdom, there's a beautiful princess lived by the name Kunti. And Kunti, one time, the wise man came and said, I want to meet the king and I would like to talk to him. And everybody was afraid of this wise man, because this wise man, if he will curse you, it will happen. And if he sees something that he doesn't like, that is outside of the Dharma, which is spiritual, he curses these people. And so he says, Kunti, make sure you come, you meet this wise man, and you behave in the best way possible. So Kunti comes, meets this wise man, and wise man looked at her and said, you're the first lady that I like in many, many years. And so I am giving you blessing to, if you ever want to have a child, to say this mantra, and you will have a birth of God, a son's God. So it's not just going to be a child. It's going to be a child of a son's God. And she thought, okay, but she didn't take it seriously. So happy wise man left. King was happy that he liked Kunti. And Kunti decided to go at night for a walk, and next to the river, she started to read this mantra because she didn't take it seriously. And so the son of God, the god of sun showed up, and he said, Kunti, you asked me to come, here I am. and I'm gonna make you pregnant right now. She said, no, 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 I was just trying to check if this mantra was real or not. He's like, well, you cannot joke about it. She's like, but I don't want to get pregnant now. If you don't want to get pregnant, I'm gonna punish you, and I'm gonna kill you and all of your kingdom and your father. She realized that she made a big mistake, and she said, sure. So therefore, he made her pregnant, and immediately she gives birth.
Oh, wow.
And then she realizes if she's gonna takes this child into home, her father will punish her and will tell her to walk away. It's gonna be embarrassment for the whole kingdom. And so what she does, she puts this child, the child of God, and his name is Karna, puts it in a basket and sends it on the river. And so Karna swims away. And Kunti is praying, God says, please forgive me, please forgive me. What could I've done? I had to put the kingdom and father so they won't get embarrassed. But she stays virgin and she goes home. A few weeks later, Panda, do you remember Pandu? So Dhritarashtra is a blind man, but he has a brother. A brother who is noble, who is kind, who is loving, and he's a wise man who brings only goodness. And so Dhritarashtra is completely the opposite. And so now Pandu gets engaged to this Princess Kunti, who gave the son away on the river. Okay? They get engaged, they get married, and eventually they get 5 sons. 5 sons who are going to be later battling the 100 cousins. Do you remember those 100 cousins who came out of piece of meat? And the whole point of Mahābhārata book, which is the 16 books, is about this battle between those brothers. And so at this point, if you have any questions about it, I can answer, because we're gonna continue later, because I want to answer the questions, and then we're gonna have lunch.
What was the name of the wife of
Dhritarashtra? Gandhari. Gandhari is the wife of Dhritarashtra. And Kunti, by the way, if we can compare Kunti later, you can there's so many books about Kunti, who gave the birth to the son of son's god. She's compared to Virgin Mary, because her troubles began the moment she's gonna walk into a house where Dhritarashtra, blind king, is. And he and her 100 sons gonna put her and her 5 kids through literally hell. And the way she's gonna be accepting it and surrendering through it, through every conversation through God, is just almost to her being close to Virgin Mary. It's just gonna be truly incredible. But we'll talk about her and starting the battle between Duryodhana, which was the loudest, like a demon son, and the 5 kids of Kunti and Pandu next time, because these 5 kids later gonna have Krishna, who is God, who came down on earth to help those 5 sons, 5 brothers of Kunti. Yeah. Any questions about Mahābhārata or about anything that is in your space? Because after we're going to finish Mahābhārata, what I would really love for us to start going over is Yama Niyama, or in English it's Jama Niyama. Jama Niyama is 8 principles of yogi, how to live life in order not to connect to those feelings of fear, shame, guilt, frustration, greed, and connect to more and more femininity. But right now we're still kind of in the conversation of Mahābhārata, and I didn't know that it's going to take us so long to finish this book, but it is 16 books, big books. So we're right now probably only on the 4th or 5th one. Yeah, but hopefully in 2 more meetings we're going to finish it up. Or maybe I'm just going to shorten it up by having the conversation how Krishna was talking to Arjuna, the 2nd son of Kunti. And that is the book Bhagavad Gita also is based on that.
If you were to extract a particular message from what you've covered so far, what would that have been from this
Mahābhārata? Mahābhārata, yeah. basically what Mahabharata is teaching us is that each person in the book is either living life in a state of ignorance that we talked about, in a state of passion, or in a state of goodness. Like you can see someone like Kunti struggling so much in life. Obviously when she's gonna die, she's gonna meet with Creator, and that will be it for her. She's not gonna go through rebirth and rebirth, because in Ayurveda, in yoga, in Hinduism, they believed in reincarnation. And the goal why Yogi and Vedas are having all of these books is for us to get closer to our Creator, so we won't have to go through rebirth again and again. And so they're showing how each person, whether they're a king or not, how they're suffering in a state of ignorance, chasing having a crown and money. How other people are just want more and more, nothing is enough. And some people, they know goodness, they've read the literature, but they're still living in a state of ignorance, because they're still not believing in God. They know the knowledge, but they're still living in fear. And so each person is either living in a state of ignorance or a state of passion or goodness, or most of them know the state of goodness, but they're still choosing to ignore it. And how this ignorance impacting first them, and how it's going to impacting the generation afterwards. Because Mahabharata starts with a king who married a woman who said, well, if I'm going to marry you, but you have already a first son from Ganga, my kids never going to be kings. And therefore, the son who's supposed to become a king said, no, I'm not going to be king in order for you to be happy. So her greed started the Mahabharata. She wanted to make sure that her kids would be kings. And now all of this trouble gonna end up in 1 billion people and 7 million people dead in a battle.
What would have been the alternative for her to
Surrender.
To surrender? Okay.
Surrender, to accept that this king already had the first marriage, and this was supposed to be the son who would be the king. And he was the wisest, the smartest, and the best version for the world. But she decided to take that away from him. And now she's paying the price. And she's paying a big price, seeing now the big battle. She will see all of her relatives dying in front of her face. And each person not really seeing how every decision they make gonna impact not just them, their husband or their wife, their kids, all of the relatives and servants, whole kingdom. But we're not living responsibly like that in life. We're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna do this. It's not impacting me, but it does. And yogis are also explaining that our true richness is not in our title, how much education we have, how much money we have, because all of that is state of passion, but rather who our friends are and who our relatives and what state they're in. If they're in a state of goodness and they're growing spiritually, it's impacting us on a daily basis. For example, it's very hard for me to live life where my husband eats meat. He eats meat. And when he eats meat, the smell bothers me. But because he's not in a state of goodness, he doesn't even has a consciousness how it bothers me. Because again, different people live in a different state. When you are starting to move to the state of consciousness, you become responsible. How everything you think and say and do impacts everyone.
Yeah.
Make sense? Or for example, the relative who is constantly cursing. I have a girlfriend who is very spiritual, and she has a relative who is constantly cursing. It's hard for her to be in that environment where a relative is cursing. F this, F that, F this. Or other relatives who are drinking or smoking. This is the state of ignorance where they're destroying themselves, but it's an illusion where they're just destroying themselves. Who are they really destroying? It's everyone around. And so who we have around and how, for example, for me right now, it's super hard to be around a woman who is like, I need money. I need another bonus of $5,000 to buy a better car. Or I need this, more success, grow more my business. it's so hard, it's draining. 5 minutes with this women, I'm like, and then they come next to me and they're like, Alisa, you're so indecisive. And it's hard for me to say, I'm not indecisive, I'm drained.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their mind is chasing more and more and more, and nothing is good enough. And they're depleting all of my energy, and I'm like, and they're asking me, do you want a salad or mushrooms? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm indecisive because I'm already exhausted.
Oh my God, I relate to that so much.
Yeah, and once you start to connect to this spirituality and start to grow everything, somebody's smoking, it depletes your energy. Somebody's cursing, it depletes your energy. Somebody is eating meat or talking about more money and how to grow their business, it's going to deplete your energy. I have to drive tomorrow to retreat 4 hours. I haven't driven on the highway for 1 year. It's going to be very difficult for me. I am mentally meditating to overcome that. So it's just everything in your energy starts to shift to femininity. And when you shift to femininity, it's like, you don't like to drive. You don't like to be behind the wheel. And I have SUV. For me, it's so hard to be on this SUV. I want to be in like a small electric white Ford. And I'm instead on this SUV. I'm like, oh, it's so masculine. It's so uncomfortable. Everything starts to change. I will be honest with you. Sometimes when people ask me a question, the answer comes, right? Right now, I didn't feel like that, but I'll tell you logically. Because sometimes I feel connection and I feel like, oh, the answer just flows, right? I didn't feel it. And logically, I'm just going to explain the knowledge, the little knowledge that I know is, first of all, your brother chose the life that he chose. He chose the life to live in goodness, to make a difference. And then he needs to overcome the karma with his wife. Meaning he had to experience this negativity, something bad, because he'd done something similar in his previous life. And that's how he completed his exam. Does this make sense? Even though to us it seems like, wow, it should have been, he could have lived a long life, he could have done something else. But no, Creator chose that it's time for him to go. We have no control of that. And he also knew when he chose his body that he has to live this life and experience this kind of life in order to learn the exam and the lesson of his life.
So he passed, when he passed the exam, even though he went in anger, it was an altercation. Even though there was anger present and he had gotten out of goodness, he still passed his exam, or did he accrue more karma?
I see what you're saying. Of course, ideally, it would have been good for him to overcome this with his wife, right? But for this particular lifetime, he didn't have enough good karma from a previous life and the courage and strength to overcome this in this lifetime, if that makes sense. So whatever that he needed to do, he accomplished it. Because in our lifetime, how yogis are explaining, if we do spiritual practices, we can overcome not only the karma from this life, but possibly a little bit from the previous life. But if we deeply study spirituality and connect to higher consciousness, we can overcome karmas, not over one previous lifetime, but maybe even 10. And that's our goal. The more karmas we overcome, the better our previous life gonna be. Because obviously someone like you and I most likely will be reborn again. Because people who will probably never reborn again, they're born in a family of monks or someone who will become monks, and they started to meditate at age 5 or 6. They're already closer to God. Very close. or they're born even in a town of Vrindavan, for example, or someone where Krishna was born. They're exposed to people who are monks around them. And so for people like us, we got to do as much as possible in this lifetime to overcome karmas from this lifetime and the previous life. And so we cannot say your brother fell because he chose this lifetime. How had you play a role into it? If you're gonna take on, oh, well, I played the role into it, then it will be hard to live with that thought, because you are not God yourself. You cannot create that, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess I was wondering, the way that my brain was working is like, now that I'm in this, a few years back, I was in a state of passion, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Now that I'm in a state of really just this humility and goodness, I'm wondering if, because you said it has a ripple effect to the people around you, and that's a testament to your spirituality and your connection, is how good are the people around you?
Yep.
Because you're influencing them.
Yep.
Well, does that mean that someone will likely experience less, the people around me will experience less tragedy and trauma?
You're impacting, for example, your husband by 20 or 30 maximum percent. You're impacting your parents by 10-15%, your kids by 30%, but you're surrounding your friends and community by around 1-2%. It's not much, but you're impacting. As you're growing, whoever is around you, if you're in a state of goodness, they're going to gravitate and grow. If you're in a state of ignorance, you're bringing people down as well, for sure. But at the same time, the most influence you will have on the closer people who are close to you. But those are the ones who will resist you the most as well. And that's where our exam is. Who are resisting us the most? That's with whom we have a destiny and our exam. My mother and my husband resist me the most. You see?
Same.
Now my son as well, so 3 actually, you know. But at the same time, I fully take responsibility. That means how much I'm influencing them, because the more they resist, the more we're impacting them, and we have our destiny close to them. And so people who are a little bit further, you're not going to be able to influence them as much. But at the same time, you do. Because women grow spiritually in the environment of other women. We can grow through connection of other feminine women, through nature, being outside on the nature, not laying down, but walking or running or swimming, or really during the meditation, prayer, and affirmation. These are the 3 ways. And obviously also through spiritual guru who can tell you and teach you spiritual knowledge. These are the 4 different ways for us to grow. And so we are who are we surrounding ourselves and what we think. And so that's why I'm right now very careful when I see people who are like bombarding into my life and they're all business oriented. And I'm like, not sure if I want to really fully let them in, because they're all about money. They want to connect to me, but I see they want to get the benefit that I'm spiritual, but they don't want to practice it. They're like, oh, I saw on Wikipedia, a Mahābhārata, a Ganga killed her 7 sons. What a crazy nonsense you're reading. So they don't want to even learn spirituality, but they want to be close to me in order to get the benefits. But that is, we have to be responsible. So when you started the spiritual growing, you have to learn how to navigate and carefully be away from people who are in a state of ignorance and passion, but not hurting them, gently. And at the same time, people who wanted to grow spiritually, help them to grow so they can become leaders, spiritual leaders, or just spiritual people themselves. Because the more we grow the seeds, the more we feel fulfilled. The happiness is actually in making a difference in other people. But we're as a human beings thinking, money, career, husband, wife, money, career, more material things. But that's a banker, because nothing will ever be enough. You'll get 1 car, you would want a better car. You'll get a house, you would want a better house. We have a house and our son is saying, but I want a house with a basement. I'm like, no, we're thanking Lord for what we have. That's enough. But you see, kids are especially until age 8, 9, if they're not exposed to spirituality, they're in a state of passion. More toys, bigger basement. Mom, I want a bigger car. I want this. I want more toys. They're in a state of passion.